Welcome to episode 86 of A Master's Degree in Rolling Terribly. I'm your host, Detty. Joining us this week, a man who's been hitting the gym over the past year, getting absolutely jacked. He's now hitting twice as hard as he used to. He's absolutely faster than he was before, and he's officially become the fifth member of amDirt. Give it up for Ormi. Ooh, yeah, that's a shame. Well, at least I still have Gaz. Say rip Ormi, Gaz.
Yeah, rip Ormi. I know, we waited all this time, and so it was great. It was definitely memorable.
I'm getting goosies. Just a little bit. Thinking about how kind of sad it is. It's so weird to have something that has been built up for such a long time. And to what cinematically made it so good for us was the fact that this is like the last two scenarios. And it's kind of like, you know that in a movie or something, there's that plot that kind of disappeared earlier on, and then for some reason that makes some reoccurrence later on, and you're like, oh my God, like it was kind of like that.
Yeah. It definitely felt like if we were a TV series, we were jumping the shark now. We were like, uh-oh, like we've run out of ideas. Let's bring back that character from number one that everyone loved that just disappeared. And like, hey, he's back. And turns out he's like Superman now, like, and he's going to kick everyone's ass. And then he'll die. Because we don't want to put him in any more episodes. We don't want to pay him anymore. We just wanted him for one episode so we could put him on the trailer and on the ad. So yeah, that's what it felt like.
Because of the amount of time that went past, and because we had issues with the contract last time, we've got a different actor for Ormi. So you know how it's like that bit where it's played by two different people, like slightly older.
Yeah, it's like it's one of the other Hemsworth brothers.
Yeah.
Right. So
he was a true hero. He was a segment. He'll continue to probably be a segment, to be honest. Ormi and Crimson Scales?
Oh yeah. Like can we port that? Is that part of the thing? Are you allowed to import NPCs into different games?
Probably not. I imagine I'm going to make a bold prediction here. Ormi makes a reappearance in 2.0.
You reckon?
Well, Crimson Scales came out before Frosthaven. Unless they knew all the writing and knew that they were incorporating it, I don't think we're going to see.
Yeah, Ormi's not going to be in Crimson Scales. Yeah, that makes sense.
No, but Ormi, it'd be interesting if they did something like if Ormi survived, or if he even appeared or survived last time, then he's in here. Otherwise, you see a corpse in a forgotten seal that's been shut down underground a long time ago.
He comes back, or maybe he's the bad guy in the next one, right? Like the big bad.
No.
I'd be interested to know the community's views on Ormi, because it's hard. It's not like a scenario where you can just Google like scenario 100, what does everyone think, and then see all these people bitch about stuff or say it's amazing, because he just is in a random scenario, or potentially two random scenarios. Spoilers in case you didn't know that. But because I mean, like 1/4 of our team, our group, like hate Ormi, like doesn't see the big deal on Ormi. I mean, he wasn't there when he came around originally, and I don't know how Phil feels, but Mark's just like, nah, just don't see the whole allure. So I wonder if there's other people that also are just like, I just don't care for this, because 2.0 has been made since Frosthaven, and if there was like, I don't know, if people are like, oh, Ormi's really cool, we enjoyed that mechanic, that was a fun thing, surely they've put something like that in 2.0, right? Because they would have redone all the events.
Yeah, it would just be the continuation of whether or not he died in the past one, but then he probably didn't really die, and then, it's that what if kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know if he's in 2.0, I don't know if it would actually be Ormi. I feel like it would just be a placeholder for, like, you get an event and have an escort.
Ormi with a mustache.
Yeah, I just wonder if people like that. Like, be keen to hear what people's thoughts are on an escort from an event that changes that up a bit. Because I think it's a cool thing, and it's made one of our scenarios where we first had it very memorable. This one was probably memorable anyway because it was the second last, but now we have this extra element of Ormi in there, which is cool. But yeah.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that I reckon majority of people enjoyed the Ormi thing, like just the twist, or just even getting the event that's like, hey, bring this guy along, and all of a sudden it changes that dynamic. I don't think many people would, apart from Mark. I think Mark's jealous or something, because
he missed out, right?
Yeah, something like that. But yeah, I think he is a good addition to the game, and I think if they I don't want to think that if they keep introducing a Bormy and then a Thormy and all that into every version after that, but if they can continue at least the aura around Ormy, maybe he's some undead prince that actually can't die and it evolves into a whole arc. Actually, that's kind of cool. Like a hero.
We need the what's the crew that do the events and stuff like that? What's that crew?
Satire.
Yeah, we need they need to write the Ormy story. They did such an amazing job with the 3 for that prison break thing. So we need get them on top of it to write the Ormy story.
Gaz, would you play a game centered around his backstory?
Yeah.
Like a Jaws of the Lion style, quick and dirty campaign about how, leading all the way up to, it means we may have to repeat the scenario we just did because that's the end of his story, kind of.
You know what? You know what's really cool? And I'm going to say I'm going to do this, but I'm completely not going to do it because I don't have the time. But what I would love to do is write the Ormy story, which is from when you first get him, and then he goes away, and then he comes back as like Thor, right? What happens in there? Like it's like a 5, it's like a side scenario kind of quest thing where he goes through. The only problem with those ones is that they're memory ones, so he can't die. But I mean, that's you hand wave that with or go what you can't do it anymore. But yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, we need his backstory.
We do. What I'm thinking is we will definitely continue to work out if all the scenarios we've done or are doing in the future of the rest of our lives are indeed an Ormy scenario.
Yeah, it will be very interesting to see how the Crimson Scales ones match up to Ormy, because I like Ormy scenarios, because I feel like OG Gloomhaven is likely most of them would be fine for him, because a lot of them are like clear room, move to next room, clear room, move to next room. Not all of them. I know it varies up and there's some really bad ones, but I think, more Gloomhaven scenarios or OG Gloomhaven would be good Ormy scenarios than Frosthaven ones.
Yeah.
I also wonder if there's a correlation between whether Ormy got booked because the people's scenario they got for him was terrible and how much people like or dislike the mechanic, right? Like if you were getting like ones like just on my mind because it was talked about in our Discord, the Sunless Trench. Like if you got him on Sunless Trench, you'd be like, nah, this is the worst mechanic ever. There's no way he survives that, right?
It's going to be very dependent. Very, very dependent. It'd be cool to actually get a list or even a giant ass poll for every single person that's ever played Frosthaven. At which scenario did it come? Did he live or did he not?
Yeah.
You can get right onto that. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll get right on getting you onto that.
Yeah, we will go over exactly what happens to him a little bit later. So a moment of silence for Ormy. On today's episode, right after our dirt sheet, we'll be covering scenario 63, the Savaas seal. Gaz has just told me he has a mystery tier list to share of some variety and that's all I know. So I'm going in nice and blind, which is really cool. And we're going to continue. We're going to continue our hits and shits. Probably the final part of it, actually, with bag items potion edition. So in our dirt sheet, so we unboxed our first Crimson Scales character, which was very cool, which was very exciting. Without spoiling anything about it, did you enjoy seeing something new?
Oh, I loved it. Like, ignoring the fact that what we opened was amazing to learn and read about, but it was fun to open something new.
It was fun. It was fun to sort of piece everything together, look at the art, look at the, obviously the main ability and how it all coincides with everything else and what the shtick is. I think the shtick in the Haven series for every single character is just some of the most fascinating things to explore. And just seeing why this and how do they make that a thing and all of that.
Yeah, and that's what I'm looking forward to as we unlock more of these characters in Crimson Scales, is that Gloomhaven, like all the characters in Gloomhaven had a shtick, but it was kind of like some of it was more pronounced than others. Like some of it was a ongoing thing that most of your cards played around. It was core mechanic, and others were like, oh, you've got a couple of cards, right? Like whereas at Frosthaven, it's like everyone was kind of pretty pronounced, right? Like it was whether you had to play to it or not, it was different, but it was definitely there, right? It was. So I'm curious because Crimson Scale seems to be about the like almost 1.5. Like it's not Jaws of the Lion where it's just Gloomhaven again. It actually seems like it's like the mid development towards Frosthaven, and some of the things we've read so far have almost seemed like, oh, okay, this is almost a prelude to what was coming in Frosthaven. So either they knew or whatever. I don't know how the design process was. So I'm fascinated to see, right, like if the classes are a little bit more evolved that way. Because from what I hear, they're all great. Right.
Same.
But then again, most people say that all the Gloomhaven ones are great, and I disagree with that. So
yeah, that's a great point. It's very cool to explore. And so far, with the one that we've seen, again, it's still showing me things that I was like, oh wow, okay, I didn't consider that. And some of the like there were new mechanics on the cards that I didn't think. There are so many characters in Crimson Scales, and it's like, how many times can they come up with something new from this? And they just keep doing it. And this is obviously from a community base, right? But it shows there's so many amazing ideas out there, and it's so cool that they can come together to provide us with more entertainment and more content. Kudos to you guys.
And funnily enough, like, and this is no context, and I'm probably wrong here, but out of the 4 starters that we have, which is the potion, the galaxy, the chains, and the washing machine, whatever that's actually called, I don't know, swirl. I actually thought potion was going to be the most boring and most bland. Like, and if that is the case, based on what we've read, then we're in a world of excitement ahead. But yeah, it's set the bar really high. Like it has definitely set the bar really high for just, I don't know. I loved it. And if you watch the unboxing, you will see exactly what I'm talking about with what I loved about it. Like it's just it was a good experience and a really fun class to unbox.
Yes. So I'll put that together and get that out sometime soon. On the side, Gaz, you recorded your first video. Solo.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
Solo. Yeah. Thought I'd speaking of unboxing things, because we're going to be playing with the minis, I decided to unbox the minis we're going to have. So yeah, I just did a short video of unboxing that. It's my first unboxing thing ever. So you get to see me awkwardly try to open
boxes.
The shrink wrap. No, even just the shrink wrap. Like I almost cut myself with the knife because I did the thing you don't do and I sliced towards myself. And it wasn't until I rewatched the video and was like, "Oh, I actually came really close to cutting my hand." Then that would have been good video. So yeah, but that was a bit of fun. So yeah, I plan on painting them and posting some more videos. So as we go through, I'll probably do just a mini unboxing, like a mini unboxing, just for each one and just kind of reactions, because through our time unlocking the Frosthaven ones, we've had different reactions to the minis. Like, and so, but we never captured any of those because we've never really recorded opening the mini. Maybe we have a couple of times.
A little bit.
Yeah, but not yeah. So with the later ones I know in Frosthaven, because I was doing most of the painting, I was taking them and painting them. So no one had really seen them until, So anyway, I thought it'd be a fun little thing to do and build our kind of hype towards, Crimson Scales campaign.
During our scenario that we did and during that actual session, you were talking to me about the minis and you were just saying to me, dude, they're really, really good, right? And I'm thinking that from a sculpt point of view and from a detail point of view, compared to what we've been kind of used to in the past. So it'd be very exciting to actually see all of them and actually see, even if the ones that, let's say, they go all Shattersong, where they look really no detail on like a gimp suit dude. We're expecting them to all be pretty amazing. Even if we don't particularly like the mini, the detail should be good because of what we've seen so far.
Yeah, well, three out of the 4 that I opened are really good, like really cool. One of them, and with those that have seen it, the chains, like, oh my, that was the first one I opened, and you can, again, watch the video, you can see, and I'm like, I didn't articulate how excited I was, but I kind of was more of just that, wow, this is like amazing. It just blew me away when I opened it because I didn't know what to expect. And I know you haven't seen
camera angles and you're doing, making sure it's in focus and all that kind of stuff. So it's really hard to,
annoying.
It's
but that's it. So I was like, kind of like, wow, like this, whoa, I can't say much more because I was kind of talking to myself. So it's weird, but and I know you haven't seen it. Well, you've seen them now because I sent you the video, but you hadn't seen the minis. But yeah, what did you think?
Totally. I completely agree with you. When you first opened that chain helm and I got to see it as well, and the camera did a great job picking up the detail. I was like, wow, okay, these are very, very cool. Like,
Yeah.
crazy detail.
Yeah, I actually was like, I think we might have started at the good end. Like, I was kind of like,
Oh.
I feel like this might be an outlier for how good they are, and the rest of them aren't going to be as good. But like I said, for the most part, they were really cool for what they needed to be. So,
And the tuck boxes, because that was the first time I got to see them in your unboxing. Some of them are huge. Like, you've got the average size tuck box, and in Frosthaven they introduced the double, which is just an extra one next to it, basically, like a 2x1 or whatever you call it. These ones were like 2x2.
2x2, but yeah, they're huge.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
Really
anyway,
exciting.
we just spent 10 minutes talking about a video I made, but yeah.
Yeah. No, it's all
cool.
good.
Yeah, no, but it's cool to kind of unlock more stuff. And yeah, I guess to your question, was it fun to unbox the potion? Yep. And it was kind of really cool to unbox the minis as well. So
Oh, perfect. So we head off to scenario 63, the second last one that we know of. And before that, we had a road event. Do you know which one it was?
for me,
Correct. So we had Winter Road Event 33. So an armor-clad individual on the ridge line jumps off into full Superman pose, fist into the ground, followed by a cinematic straightening of his body in slow motion as he locks eyes with us. And it was just like, what is going on? So it basically was like, do you want to bring him along or not? And it's insta-lock. You can't not. Like,
as soon as he appeared, we would already
Just
right-click,
yes.
invite, right? And it's like we had to finish the cutscene before it was allowed to register. It's like you had me at stylish pose, like.
yeah. No, it was very well done. It's got a little bit of tongue in cheek in there as well, which I like. And the basic ruling now is that you play the next scenarios if you have one more character than you do, which is interesting. Or if you have 4 characters, increase the scenario level by 1. So when I got to that line, I was like, oh, damn, he's bringing a full arsenal of just everything he's ever known ever. He's going to be killing everything. At the start of the next scenario, place a number token or suitable proxy, whatever. This is Ormi. Ormi has about 20 health. Acts on initiative 30. So he got faster. It used to be 50, I believe. So he got faster. And then every round he performs move 2, move 4. Now he used to perform move 2, attack 2. So move 2, attack 4. He's just doubled his strength, right? Any character could still lose cards to negate damage done to him. And if the kind of scenario is completed and Ormi survives, we treat all bonus experience and gold conversion as 2 levels higher, not counting the increase from this card. But if the scenario is lost, or if Ormi doesn't survive, we lose 1 morale and 1 soldier. How does this make you feel?
Yeah, like I think it was really cool. I like the entrance. I like the story. I did like the tongue in cheek. Like, to be honest, I kind of liked that as a thing rather than him just walking up and being like, hey, by the way, I'm really cool now. Like, I love that it was just overdone.
Dramatic, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, and bringing him into the scenario was cool. I love that he's like, "Hey, I'm going to give you guys a hand now." Because in the first one, it's like, "Hey, can I come along?" And we had to protect him. And I like the idea. In the next one, he's like, "Hey, I'm going to reward you guys or pay you guys back by coming along and helping you do this." But not just help you. I like the fact that if he survives, then your overall XP and stuff like that, you get more. So it's like there is a reason to do it. Like you're getting a reward. That's the payoff.
Yeah.
Probably the only thing I was a bit disappointed with was what you said. It didn't really feel like he was bringing a big arsenal. I mean, like he had a lot of health. Okay, and attack 4 is pretty good. I mean, he's using the minion deck though, so it's like not the ally deck, right? So it's not amazing. But I just wish there was like maybe a little bit more text in there. Although you don't want to overcomplicate it with potentially a really complicated scenario.
That and it's got to fit on a card, unless the card referenced the section in the book. Yeah, it's a lot of text.
Just stuff like like having healing potion or something like that, right? Like when he drops below half health, he heals himself for 5 or something like that, right? Or just something would be cool. Or I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean,
he attacks with advantage, right?
Oh, that's a bit much.
Oh, he jumped off a ledge and like did a Superman pose. Like I feel like that's better than just like
he moves 2 with jump. There you go.
Yeah, something like that. Moves 2 with jump and has a healing potion and attacks with advantage.
Move 2 with jump would actually be a detriment, I think, for some reason, because he would get into a lot of places where we don't want him to.
Yeah. The move 2 is interesting as well. Like I feel like that should have been move 3. Just not just based on our scenario, but I suppose if you do move 3, he probably gets ahead of the party, which isn't necessarily a bad thing because he's supposed to be like this big hero guy. But anyway, look, overall, liked it. I thought it was really cool. I'm glad that he came back, and I like the way that he did it.
And I like the fact that he came back before the final scenario. He's like, I'm not doing that. No, I'll do the slightly easier one, we assume. So scenario 63, the savaas seal. Why this scenario? Well, previously on Frosthaven, the first seal was deep below the crystal fields. This is what we did last week. While Crane worked, the Harbingers sent guardians to repel you. You held the monsters at bay and bought him time. Ultimately, Crane found the right place and activated his big throbbing machine. New lines grew in the seal's design. It seems like Terra's plan might work. You headed off to the savaas source of life. Note to the writers, though, way less dick jokes in this intro. So I don't necessarily approve, but change of pace. So that's fine. I actually went right back into that intro to look for any Crane shenanigans, but apparently he's exhausted from the first lot.
Yeah, he was spent. He was done. Like the horny posting was over. Now we can get back to our regular job.
Scenario goal. The scenario is complete at the end of the 12th round. I do like the sound of that. At the end of the round, read a thing. We have no scenario effect going into this, which is probably a good thing. Monster combinations. We have Savaas, Lava Flow, and Ice Storm, and their respective summoning demons. Pets-wise, we brought in Stu the Forest Imp and Rice Wind, the Snow Imp. Forest Imp's for healing, Rice Wind is for movement, and Ormi, the adorable idiot imp. Difficulty, because of Ormi, and somehow, because I think we were going to +0 this, and then it becoming +1 because of Ormi, and then I checked after a bit where you were asking about the difficulty, and it was like, oh, we're at +2 for some reason. So I'm not too sure what happened there, but Xhaven was like, no, you'll be fine. And we ended up doing it at +2 by accident, and then when we realized, we're like, well, we'll just see this out. Our party consisted of Detty, me on the Geminate. I'm still level 5. It's a bitch. Gaz is on his drill. I think you're 7.
Yeah, just hit 7.
You were 7 for this. Mark on his shackles is 6, and Phil on the blink blade has just hit 8. And he got really excited because now he can go invisible. So more shenanigans. I think that came with level 8. I'm not a blink blade, so I could be wrong.
He could just be cheating.
He could just be cheating. Our map layout, we have 3 tiles attached to each other to form a very large room. Crane stands in front of us, channeling "You shall not pass," and then letters sit in the corners of the map, which contain a couple of corridors and obstacles and one treasure chest right next to our spawn point. No, don't be silly. It's on the other side of the map, of course. Special rules. Now, Crane is 20 health. I think. I can't remember. He's immune to force movement, and he cannot move in any way. So he's out the front. He's just channeling. He doesn't act, but he has initiative 99 for focusing purposes. And whenever any monster would be able to attack Crane on their turn, given their current movement and range, they will focus on him, which is a real spicy change to pretty much every escort we've done. But we can lose cards to negate damage on him and Ormi, which is a real interesting twist to this scenario, is because we can protect 2 people now. If Crane dies, the scenario was lost. At the start of each listed round, we spawn things at the appropriate letters based on the player count. And then we have a section event that says at the end of the 4th round, we read a thing. So yeah, survive 12 rounds. Love it. And Crane now with a mega focus. So what are your thoughts around this little twist in the NPC protection scenario?
Yeah, it seemed really cool. I don't think we really felt the impact of it until later when there was lots of stuff there. I mean, you could guess at what it was going to do, right? But there were, as we got later in and there was a lot more monsters and we realized we can't stop these.
No.
Like there's, they've got good movement, they've got range, stuff like that. So that panned out to be like really hard. But no, I think it's cool. Yeah, it was a cool scenario. It was very minimalistic. Is that the right word? Minimalist? I don't know.
Yeah, minimalistic.
Like only having 2 monsters types, right, that are there. And I know the summons are kind of come along with it, but just those was like, okay, like it's kind of very easy to understand what's happening right now. Unfortunately, we don't know a lot about the lava flows or the ice storms, which we've talked about at length. Haven't encountered that many times. But you were kind of like, okay, all right, well, we're getting one around, and they started adding up a bit. But yeah, it was kind of like, okay, this seems not easy, but it's pretty straightforward. Right? We kind of have a clear plan.
Yeah.
And we're going to go, and then hopefully not get overwhelmed.
Exactly. And at the beginning, it's kind of hard to gauge that because, I mean, the lava flows are running around with 30 health and I think 2 retaliate or something like that. Ice storms are running around with 20 health and 2 shield. So we're going to need a lot of bursts to burst these down, a lot of pierce. And, you know, just considering that's a lot of health. If they're going to summon every single round as well, it's a lot of health to chew through. And we need to be prepared for that. And luckily we've got, you know, Ormi to help us out with that. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the shield was the thing. Because the lava flows, I don't think they have retaliate, but I think they've got a retaliate card. I think they've got gotcha. Poison.
Poison wound, I think.
Yeah, I don't think they've got retaliate. I could be
no. They've got a retaliate card now that I remember. I don't think they have an innate one.
But I think they pulled it a couple of times, which then puts that up as a problem. And then you got the other side of things where you've got the ice flows, or whatever they're called, ice storms, who do have that shield, but they're summoning wind demons that have shields.
Yeah.
And that's like, I have a little bit of pierce, and I just got a new card that gives me pierce as well. So I was like, oh, okay, I can kind of deal with that. But they got a lot of health. So like you hit them with pierce, and then you hit them with pierce, and they're still alive, and you're like, oh, okay, well now I've just got to try to push damage through shields. It becomes a bit of a pain. So yeah, they are definitely, they're tough.
Very tough. So a couple of points. At the beginning, our strategy generally was, well, I don't think we had one. It was just everyone started moving towards the back of the room, which is where the 2 monsters were, and the treasure tile, which was good, except for me, because I had a battle goal that said I couldn't use a basic action. So a lot of my big movements and all that burns, so I was trying to work out how to also move, which ended up being okay, because I was neck and neck with Ormi as we were both traveling through the room while everyone was making their way to the other side. So that's all good. Gaz returned to his absolute best with a null in the first 2 cards again. He's back. We're happy because that means the curse is off me again. So it was great. It was really exciting to see you do that again.
Yeah.
And did you do it? Oh yeah, you had strengthen. Yeah. But did you do something really convoluted with your shuffling or preparation leading into the snow?
Yeah, I shuffled the cards out like into piles, and then shuffled them back in together, and then shuffled them again, and then cut my deck. Then had to put a bless in for some reason. Why do we end up with an extra bless?
From we had an outpost event last week, and then we had the 2. Yeah. And then we had the 2 from the temple.
Yeah, so I think early on I had to bless for some reason, and or something, but I had to reshuffle, so I reshuffled, and then I luckily, because I was doing like a really big turn, or really big combination of turns, so I did use my strengthen potion, and pulled out the miss, and then got to reshuffle again.
It was great. Very happy. The other thing was the lava flows and the ice storms. They were summoning fairly consistently early, and this kind of set the tone a little bit. They've got those summon cards. I think they came up way more than, at least for the first half.
It'd be 2. Is it 2 out of 8 for each of them?
I think so.
Because they've got like one of
each element. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it did seem like a lot at the start, because like turn 1 they didn't summon. Turn 2 they did, but like the spawning for purposes is down the back. You've got these 2 tiles, and there will basically, over the first 4 rounds, 1 spawns on each tile. So there's already 1 starter there on turn 1, and then so in 4 rounds you're gonna have 4 of these guys, right? 2 lava flows, 2 ice flows, and as you said, the lava flows have 30 health, and the ice storm guys have 20 and 2 shields, or something like that. So that's already 4. I mean, that's 60. That's 100 HP that we've got to get through in 4 rounds, which is huge. But as you said, I'm pretty sure in turns 2 and 3, they both summoned.
Yeah, it was something like that. And I think by that stage we had a second something on the board where it's like where you got 2 lava flows or 2 ice storms, and they're both summoning, and we had to like stun one or nail one.
Yeah, well, I think we only managed to stun. We killed 1, and I think we managed to CC another one, but it still meant that we ended up with 2 and then 3 and then 2 or something dumb like that. So yeah, by the end of like turn 3 or 4, right, we had some pretty weakened like savaas, but we also had these full health demons, especially the earth demons. They got like 30 health.
Yeah,
and apparently innate immobilize.
Oh yeah, that was a
Where did
nice
that
little
come
fun
from?
surprise. I don't know. Let's have a look.
Like, is that a yeah? Because I
So
made
Earth
that
Demon.
comment during it, and I was like, is this just a thing that?
So level 3s when they get their first elites get their first innate immobilize. And then
Okay.
after that, level 5, which is what we played, the normals also have it. And they were summoning normals.
Yeah.
So
You know
that's
what?
what made it
I reckon
weird.
that's it. I reckon that we've been putting him in the bin because we haven't been like permanent immobilized is really rough.
They still don't have any shields or anything like that. But yeah, I totally agree. It's pretty permanent with them. And they've got some AoEs, I think, which would, some cleavy kind of formations and all of that, which is going to stack a few on there. So, and they've got 25 health. So, elites have 25, normals have
Yeah.
17 at level 5.
I mean, the problem is, right, is that with innate immobilize, if one of these gets next to you and hits you, well, until you kill it, you can't get away because it doesn't matter unless you were going after it that turn, right? Like it was going and then you went, and then so the immobilize drops off and you get it because they usually go pretty slow. But like it doesn't matter that they're slow once you're in that cycle. Then this didn't happen to us, although there was a combination of turns where I got disarmed and then immobilized, I think it was. And that messed me up. I didn't mind being immobilized, but
Did
I
you
think
play
then everything moved away.
was that a 3-card turn?
Nah, I think
It felt big.
it was I think it was the second turn of my. I don't know. I don't think it messed me up, but it only messed me up because I couldn't do anything.
Yeah,
I don't think it messed me up because I was doing extra shit. So
yeah, okay.
but yeah, I just was new. I don't know. I just don't. Maybe we haven't fought normal Earth demons at level 5 yet.
I don't think we have.
So
Otherwise, because this is the first time we've really noticed how bad the immobilize really was. So yeah, everything's going well. At the end of the 4th round, we read the thing. Everyone's down the end except for me. I'm still halfway through, and Ormi's making his way over, and Crane's still throwing his arms up in the air, going, "What up?" And Crane's channeling starts to take effect with a new special rule. So all monsters gain wound, and so from now on, whenever any monster is spawned or it's summoned, it gains wound, and monsters cannot remove the wound with healing. What were your thoughts on that? Because that's quite unique. Where it's almost like it's obviously it's almost signposting. I think that's the term used for letting you know this is going to get wild. So this is going to help, basically. But it does feel like a weird effect to happen. I'm not complaining about it. I like it. I really like it. But yeah, different.
yeah, I think it's cool. Like adding in a stacking effect, a building up effect of like making it, I'll say easier, but helping you deal with it.
Yeah.
I imagine it would be an admin nightmare if we weren't using app. Like,
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
I mean, you don't
right.
have to put the wound tokens on everything because you didn't know they permanently have a wound, but having to add 1 damage onto the manually would be a pain in the ass. But yeah, I think it was pretty cool.
Yeah. And at this stage, I think I made a comment because everyone was at the front. I was like, I think it's going to activate these ones here, so we need to get everyone back, and everyone sort of starts falling back. But once we got to a stage where once the enemies were in a certain range, they were then permanently going to focus on Crane. And that was the moment I think that we kind of went, oh, this is bad. Because we automatically would be like, cool, we're going to do Savaas lava flow. This one's going to move over here and he's going to attack. And then Mark would just say, no, he's got enough movement to make it the Crane. And that kept happening because you go into your auto mode and all of a sudden it's like, oh, this is actually getting scary. This is getting dangerous. Like one of those ones at the very beginning, I think the first hit on Crane, because I miscalculated it, who it was going to focus on, crit him. And I was like, I could burn a card for this, but I was like, no, it's fine. We can stabilize. We won't mess this up again, was what went through my head. It got real bad because then, once everything reaches that threshold on the map, it suddenly becomes a massive problem for Crane.
Yeah, 100%. And that's it. It's 100 scenarios or so of like training how monster AI works. And then suddenly we had to keep remembering that it didn't work like that. And the only way to stop it is to either stun, immobilize, or get in their way.
Or kill them.
Pardon?
Or kill them.
Well, or kill them. But we didn't have the DPS because like we just talked about how lava flows have 30 health. The others have 20 in shields. Getting through the 2 two shields that Wind Demons has can be tricky. Flame Demons have 5 shields, and they only have 4 life. So the thing is, they've got wound on them, right? So they're going to tick down. So you really only got to push through a couple of damage, but getting through 5 shields was almost impossible for anyone but Mark, who has a lot of pure damage. And the Earth Demons have like 30 health. So it was really like, yeah, kill them, but it's like you have to focus them. Like, so I think we, towards the end, was getting to a point where like we were stunning them because I've got a couple of stun cards that I could do, and I was just kind of cycling them a little bit, which worked. But it was kind of trying to lean into the CC a lot.
Yeah. Everyone was blowing cooldowns. I think Phil had breakneck speed up. He was doing a lot of stab fast and making earth and ice and all those weird things that we're not familiar with. Mark was dishing a lot of pure damage, and you were drilling things.
Yeah.
My point is, everyone was blowing a lot of really good cooldowns to keep the tempo and keep everything clean. And if we didn't do that, it would have been way worse, because it got to a stage where I had to then pivot into more of a support role to try and keep Crane alive. You turned to me and said, hey, do you have any of your healing cards? And I'm like, yeah, I do. And I was happy to switch to that, because Crane was getting dangerously low. He was chunking quite badly. And because of the those lava flows, the innate wound and poison, once they focused on him, getting those off him without a dedicated support, not to mention Stu, mate, all characters gain healing. What about allies? Like, we couldn't even use Stu, the forest imp, to heal him up. And that's when things got real scary, because all of a sudden I had to, and this is the issue with the Geminate, at least with me, is I'm still learning and I'm still getting used to it. Now I know I've got to pivot my strategy to looking after Crane and not wasting burns necessarily on killing things, but just trying to make sure I had the cards for it. And I decided I've got the most cards. I'm going to be negating the damage from burning, and I'm going to try and cycle and try and get that heal back out over and over again as often as I could. But the problem with that is, when you run out of cards, you've got to switch, making sure I've got the right switch cards, and make sure I'm swapping back into melee to then get back into range to then heal. Oh my God, it was really stressful for me, and I actually really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the stress that came with it.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and it's like trying to find ways of, like you said, healing Crane, but getting rid of these wounds, because we haven't even mentioned Ormy, which we'll talk about in a bit, but like he also got the wound and poison on him, so he was just ticking down. And I feel like we were trying to like shove Stu in Crane's face, going like, go, blow him, get healing. Yeah. He's like, no, I don't want to do it. And
we should have literally gone to I need you over here, and then just gone, before I drink the forest juice, I quickly throw it straight onto Crane and just flick some moisture onto him.
So yeah, it definitely kind of was fine until it wasn't. It felt like one of those games you play. I know there's like the legendary card games, the kind of team co-op kind of card builder type games. In a pandemic style is the same thing, where it goes from like everything's fine, we've got this under control, and then like a turn or two later where you don't even notice, and you're like, holy shit, how did things get so hectic? Right? I just didn't see it coming. It was like a couple of things happened and we thought we were fine. And that's kind of what happened here. Like, we were fine. And then a couple of things happened. We're like, oh, Crane's got a wound and a poison. He's on 3 health. And there's like 8 mobs around him who aren't going to focus us.
No.
We ain't fine anymore.
Who never went to the back of the room, I'm running around on full health because nothing's focusing me. And that's the part where I'm like, hey, I need someone to hit me. I've got all this health right now. And they just wouldn't, unless I was collateral, like with Crane. As a target
it's like, oh, he's hitting you, but he's also hitting Crane. Yeah. Yes. So it did have a very, and we were looking at the round things. Also, I think Mark at one stage got booked.
He got booked, yeah.
Yeah, he had a really big turn. Like, I think everybody, that was a cool thing, is everybody had some moments. Everyone had a couple of moments that were really pivotal, where they either did a lot of damage and killed some stuff, or CC'd something, or just generally influenced the like scenario towards our goal in a really massive way over like a turn or two. I think everybody had those moments, which was cool. But he had some really bad luck towards the end, where he had no cards in his hand, and then took a series of like 3 hits and had to discard like 6 cards. And so he went from mostly fine to not very mostly fine.
Which was the example you were giving earlier of that effect of, hey, we're all good. And then epidemic happens in Mark's face.
Yeah. And it was a weird situation because I guess, I don't know how much we're going to talk about Ormy, but Ormy had gone forward, right? And had latched onto a monster as he does. And he had a wound and he had a poison, so he was definitely going to die because we didn't have a lot of heals. And
This was pivotal.
yeah, and two things happened. One, he had to hit this monster. I think it was a lava flow. And this was his moment, right? This is the hero.
It had 1 health or something. It was like really low.
It had 4 and poison on it.
And he hits for 4.
And he hits for 4, or no, maybe he didn't have poison on it. I think either way, he was going to hit for his amount, right? And so Mark had a turn first and was like, he's got a card for the shackles that allows him to take up to 3 damage and then deal up to 3 damage to something at the start of his turn. So I was like, well, if you do 2, right, then out of Ormy pulling from the ally deck, the only card that means he doesn't kill him is the miss, because a -1 or -2 is still gonna tick over, right? It'll be fine. So the math wise, it worked it out. We're like, okay, cool. So we just need to do that. And then it was Ormy's turn. It was like, this is what you're here for, mate. You jumped from the skies. You're leading us to victory. You're going to kill this guy, and it's going to make a massive difference, because I'm pretty sure that savaas was summoning that turn as well. So it was like summoning a fire demon. That's fine. Ormy's got this.
I need to find the clip of what actually happened, because I remember this.
Yep, and then he pulled the miss.
He pulled the miss.
In classic amDirt, welcome to the family, mate. You pulled a miss. Now, the problem was, to make this even worse, is that he was on 1 HP. So Ormy was on 1 HP with a wound and poison. He was not getting any heals, because we were all at this stage on Crane Watch, right? Like he was getting bullied. So Ormy was just dead. And what was funny is the next turn, he took the 1 damage. And I'm like, okay, we can burn a card here to stop him from taking that 1 damage. Everyone's like, nah. I'm like, oh, and I was considering it. I have the least cards of everyone. But I'm like, oh, maybe you do, maybe you don't. All right, fine. We'll just let him die. And then I think the thing that followed next was Mark. That's when Mark got hit 3 times. And so I think it was some kind of weird case, is that if I had burnt that card, Ormy would have gone, and he actually went earlier, and he would have killed the guy. Well, he would have drawn, and if he could have drawn the miss again, but there's a good chance he would have killed the guy, and therefore Mark doesn't take all that damage. So this is kind of, this is what I said in the first episode. What I love about these games is that you make these decisions and you can claim bad RNG screwed you. Yeah, the miss screwed us, right? Or these attacks screwed us. But if I had chosen to burn a card, right, then the whole next sequence doesn't happen. I lose 1 card, Mark doesn't lose 6. Right, so it's this weird, like, oh, okay, now you could retro and be like, oh no, pretend that I did that, but then at that point you may as well play the game. So it's this, I love those decisions. You're like, oh, especially because we thought about it. So that's kind of how that sequence went.
Right now we have special rules. They've just added onto it from the previous ones. Now all monsters gain disadvantage on all their attacks, so this is by round 8, which is really cool, further reinforcing that against all odds kind of situation as things are getting worse and worse and worse. And it's kind of clear that we're going to get really, really outnumbered and fatigued. So, these things are making everything quite easy, or easier. But yes, we lose Ormy. Ormy dies, unfortunately, which was, I think it was too hard to be sad at the time, or to have, because we were still not sure if we'll complete the scenario. And then of course, if we do fail the scenario and have to repeat it, I mean, it's not like Ormy comes back, he's dead. So it was kind of like, no, we need to make sure we finish this so we don't have to run this again.
Without Ormy. Yeah, we have to do it
without
for
Ormy.
You can't, he can't have died for nothing, right? Like,
I would have dropped the difficulty down a little bit.
That's true. But he did cause a distraction. So he bought us a couple, even though he failed at his ideal hero moment, we all have. Let's not throw him under the bus. We've all been there, present company definitely included, missing key hits. He definitely did hold the door for a bit to stop a couple of monsters coming down here. So
he did.
Yeah, he did his part.
Rip. They stopped summoning so much, and which is great. They stop summoning, but that means they're hitting. If they're not summoning, they're hitting, which is really, really bad. 10th round, we had the negative condition, a disadvantage as well as the wound, and now we add characters get +1 to all their attacks, which is really cool, and then monsters have -1 to all their attacks. So this is where we're all climaxing and getting ready to finish this off. And I'm burning my deck to keep Crane alive. I'm pretty sure I exhaust. Markland's one of the clutchest heals that I've ever seen him do on Crane. There was a bit where I think he single-handedly removed the poison and the wound from him so that I could then heal or something like that. I didn't see it coming. He didn't announce it. I like those moments. I do. I like to be a part of
He's
those
playing
moments
his own
sometimes. Yeah. No, it was very, very, very sick. And you and Phil did a phenomenal job of plowing through the rest of them at the same time. And we get to the 12 cards. This is the thing. We get to the 12th round. We draw cards. We see all of the enemy cards. And then we breathe a sigh of relief. And it's that moment we realize we win. We can't lose. But we still have to play out the whole round. And you've mentioned this solved kind of scenario, this kind of situation to be in. Do you still see it as a good thing or a negative thing to your enjoyment?
It's fine as long as it's the last round.
Yeah, okay.
Like that's it. Because
fair.
I think that the experience we had up to that point, even the draw, there was so much anticipation. And to be fair, they did everything they could to try to wreck us, because I think all three demons, like the wind, the fire,
They went early.
and the frost, all went before us, and like really early. Like I think I was at like a 30, 20, 25, 24, something like that. I was like, okay, I'll be able to stun like two of them. And they're like, no, we're all having our turns before you go. So it's not like they didn't try. But yeah, it does. I think if it's earlier than that, like let's just say we got to turn 10. We drew our cards on turn 10, and they were summoning, and we had range, and we had some stuns as well. You could kind of go like, oh, they don't have enough monsters on the board to do enough damage to him, and we've got more cards. Then it's solved. Then that's when I feel it's kind of a bit shit.
Yeah.
But if it can get to the last round, then yeah, 100%, it's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, okay.
And I think that when that happens, that feels like a hold out scenario. The idea of you've got to hold it out until, and that it should be this endless wave kind of coming up until that final moment. It's that horde mode, right?
Yeah.
Like, the horde mode to get to that counter, to get to that escape, to get to the, evacuation pod, whatever it is, you want it until the point that it's done.
Yeah.
You don't want it 3 turns earlier where you're like, oh, well, now we just got to wait 3 turns while we know that we've won. Because that's not really horde mode. That's like there was a horde and then we were fine. Like, so yeah.
There was a horde mode. No, you're 100% right. Yeah, it doesn't really faze me at all. But though that example you gave with if it happened earlier in the round, yeah, I could understand that. You kind of just yippee-yaying your way to the finish line. So the summary was the savaas are now freed from the Harbinger's influence. We won, by the way. Ormi didn't. And the Shatter Song decided to remain in the area to help lead the savaas in a new direction away from the malevolence that sleeps below them. Crane has a brainwave and says he knows where the third seal is and where the Harbinger is pouring all of its energy, which was Frosthaven. Whoa! What a twist. I love twists.
Yeah.
I love twists. So yeah. Let's set that bit in the movie where it's like they name the title of the movie, but in the movie.
Yeah.
It's like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
We won. Our rewards were True Prosperity, which is really cool. I'm not sure if you marked that down or not. And we unlocked Scenario 64, which is linked. Gaz, what were your thoughts on Scenario 63 Terminator 2?
I loved it. I think it was really good. It was a really cool scenario in the lead to the end. It built on the last scenario, which was well designed and a lot of fun. It had some really cool moments. It was stressful. It had some cool monster combinations because I think the savaas monsters aren't in a lot, and they're pretty badass. And we saw kind of, if we're going to tier list the monsters next, this is probably going to be my most recent memory of them, and I think it has bumped them up a lot. But it also had the demons, which are classic OG.
Love the demons.
They are always. Other than Earth Demons, which we put in the bin all the time, the others are always tough, right? And they have their moments. They have their cards they draw. So yeah, I think overall it was really cool. It had everything that you kind of want in that scenario. And look, the only thing that lets it down, and this isn't even lets this down, is if the next scenario sucks. Right? If the final scenario is garbage, then I mean that even better that they made this good, but it almost feels like they could have I don't know. I don't know. That's not a reflection on this one. This one was great, but it kind of has. I mean, it's built up my expectations. That's the only negative.
Yeah,
In that
okay.
I
That's a
expect the
very fair
next one to
negative.
be quite good in
Yeah.
its own way, because both of these have been different. So the only negative I could say from this is that maybe this was, I don't know, too good.
Yeah.
If that's even a criticism, I don't know.
You are building it up a lot, and unfortunately, I'm with you on that. I'm also building up the hype a little bit in my head as to how good it's going to be, and I'm worried that I'm going to put a magnifying glass next week on any tiny thing that's just standing out and not up to our expectations. But I agree with you. Scenario 63 is phenomenal. It was really, really enjoyable. I love survivor scenarios. I think that they're a great sandbox thing where it's kind of like, well, here's the threat. You know what's happening, but you still get to play your character, still do the things that you want to do. And you can almost assign people, you go deal with that spawn point, you go deal with that one. Everyone can play to their strengths. I think it's just great design. Really, really, really enjoyed it. I like the backs against the wall towards the end. I loved having Ormi in there. I think that just made it even better. I think that something that it reminded me of a little bit was it's kind of like survive scenarios remind me of one of my favorite scenes in any movie ever, which is Helm's Deep in the Lord of the Rings Two Towers, where it's just you're outnumbered, you're outgunned, and they're breaking through and they're heading towards your ancient, which is Crane in this instance. So yeah, no, really, really, really enjoyable. Do you think maybe that we'll get a twist? And it'll be like Mayor Satha and she's signed with, like, is there some kind of twist coming? Or do you think it'll be a standard fairy tale ending kind of situation? We're going to beat the big bad and Frosthaven's really happy and Gloomhaven's really pissed because they don't like Frosthaven and all of that.
Look, I hope not. I hope it's not. If there is a twist, I hope it's not stupid.
You wake up.
Yeah, you wake up. Crane's like, oh, it turns out Frosthaven is in your memory. Look, I don't know. I don't know what to expect. I honestly don't know. And I really want it to be good, and I'm building it up to be really good because I feel like they know that everyone has to do this scenario. Like, this is the last scenario we will do, assuming it's the last one in the chain, right? We're not doing any more after this. And for most people, this is the case. Most people aren't like, oh, now that I finished Frosthaven, I'm going to do all the side scenarios. I assume. So because of that, you would have to put a lot of effort into it, right? Like, it's just, yeah. So look, I don't know. I don't know.
Maybe that they thought all the Frosthaven changes were going to be so bad that a lot of the people that are attempting the game wouldn't even get to the last bit because they've tapped out at like 5 scenarios
just phone it in.
Yeah, just phone it in.
Yeah, maybe. But I feel like if it's like scenario 1 and scenario 2 in this 3 scenario chain were lackluster, I'd be on that. I'd be like, they just put whatever in. But they have put effort into this. Like, we talked about this during we were playing about like the idea of an NPC being the focus for the monsters, and how we haven't encountered that. And I think I made the comment, I was like, oh, it's strange I haven't done something like that before. And Phil was like, yeah, but it's the last few scenarios. You want to do something different. And drastically changing how the monster AI works. And look, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't remember one that did this. Maybe there is a side scenario that does something similar.
There's the pillar one that we did in one of the PQ chains where the pillars went on initiative 1 for focusing. And you were like, if they go next to it, we can't get them off it.
Yeah, true. Yeah, okay. So it has been done, but I don't know. Maybe it's been so long since I remember. But yeah, like, it was very different. So they've thought of some cool things to do. And I have hope that they thought of cool things to do for the final one as well.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Mark's thoughts on the scenario. It was an interesting challenge. First few rounds of not much, but it was clear that Crane would be in trouble if and when spawns came from the sides. The enemies were full on with their summoning from the scenario, and the summons from them, the enemies were full on with summons from the scenario, and summons from them, it was going to be hard to keep up. Tempo kept swinging, and we were lucky to survive in this one. Some Ormi guy showed up, giving big dick energy hero vibes, but didn't end up doing a great deal. He had a round where it all hinged on him, and he really let the team down. I think he used to be in the party or something. There was a lot of nostalgia and hugging. I'm not sure what all the fuss was about.
Not a fan.
Finally, was this an Ormi scenario?
Well, he died, so no, right?
What if that's what? Maybe that was his PQ.
What, die in this scenario?
Well, he's the first to exhaust, so it's his battle goal,
That's
maybe.
true. Yeah, well, interesting. Do you think he died as Mega Ormy, right? Or Super Ormy? Would it be Mega, like Super Shredder? Or I'm kind of getting Super Shredder vibes, but also maybe Mega. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think regular Ormy just insta Gibbs in this one?
My possibly. The thing is, it depends on how fast you can get through the rounds and how much you clear. If you clear everything, Omi doesn't move, but clearing everything is really, really difficult. He got stuck towards the end because he had 4 rounds of getting there before anything really spawned on the wings. If something spawned on the wings and he didn't get there enough, I reckon he might be okay because he would then chill. They would be focusing on Crane and he'd just be extra DPS by that stage. It's just the fact that he got stuck up the end. Once he got stuck up the end, there's no way of bringing him back unless we had force movement or something like that, which we didn't. So
yeah, and also because he got a wound on him. Like, yeah, which just meant he was on a time limit. We didn't have any heals. Like, this is probably one of the worst parties we've ever had for having any kind of escort or ally. Because, like, you have a little bit of heals and Mark has a little bit, but they're really, like, lots of hoops to jump through. And Mark generally wants to throw his heals on himself.
Yeah.
Right? And you need to go through a lot of different things to get your heals going. So it's not consistent. You can't just go like, I'll heal and then I'll just get that car back and heal again and do that kind of stuff. So
it's funny. I considered building the Geminate a little bit more supporting because I've seen some of the cards and I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool, giving shield to this and all of that. Yeah, so I didn't spec in that way. So that's what made it really hard. I had to kind of work with level 1 supporting cards where I could. And we only had one attempt at this, which we won. So I didn't have to change. I probably would have changed the deck up a little bit if I had known I was going straight into this to look after Crane.
Yeah.
So, no, yeah, it was a rough-ish party for this. I think that if you've got, like, our original media snowflake trap kind of thing on a scenario like this would have just been fun and just potentially hinging on a little too easy.
Oh, I was thinking about it before. Imagine if I had the Banner Spear. Remember when we had the Banner Spear party? Like, I think that was like end of Snowflake, Meteor, Trap, and Banner Spear, I think it was. Like, I just chuck the heal like flag up behind Crane and be like, whatevs, because nothing's ever going to hit it.
No, you're right.
Because they just, we don't care about this healing banner. And yeah, I think like there are a couple of abilities that just completely trivialize the whole thing. So I'm kind of glad we got to do it on hard mode in a sense with the party we have, like the least amount support. But yeah, I think Ormy's in a lot of trouble unless you can keep him down the back end.
Communications. Community. I knew comms meant something. So someone wrote down somewhere, I think it was on BGG. Might have been Reddit. So everyone seems to know the deal with the puzzle book, but we finally got through it, hoping for a satisfying climax to the campaign. We have hundreds of hours of playtime into Frosthaven and enjoy most of that time. Scenario 62 was a slog, but we got through it. For 63, we lost, lowered the difficulty, and then were able to beat it. Both of those sessions were over 2 hours, and neither one was very fun with tons of bookkeeping and fiddliness.
Is this 63 that we just did?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the community feeling for the last two that I've said.
That is one person in the community.
Yeah, that they speak for everyone, right?
Apparently. But yeah, it's just they're not satisfied with the ending. And look, not everyone's going to be when it comes to ending anything, really, whether it be a TV series or whether it be, one of the greatest endings on TV ever with Dexter. And I don't know, I'm basing that off just what I've read. But yeah, I kind of get it.
I can see these two that we've just done being annoying from an admin perspective if you kind of went too far down that role. Like, I mean, again, if we didn't have the app, I think for both of the last two, then it does get a bit more fiddly. But yeah, I don't know.
Both of those sessions were over 2 hours. I would love that. That would be awesome.
Like a 2-hour session?
Yeah.
It seems really quick. Like what I
It seems real fast.
Yeah. Although we did finish this one pretty quickly.
We did. We finished it very quickly.
I mean, that's always going to be the case in a limited round scenario, unless you get to the last 2 or 3 rounds and it's really tight and you need to like puzzle your way through, where you really have to analyze, okay, these are the pieces we've got to do this. Which I guess is kind of why I like you need to survive time limit one rather than you need to offense. Because you need to offense, that gets a lot more like analysis paralysis, because you can literally look at the cards you've got and go like, what's your best combination to do as much damage as you can here? Whereas in the survive one, you got to be like, well, we got to wait to see what they draw. Right. So there's always just pick your cards and see what they draw, because we've got to try to stop whatever they're doing, which I think that works a lot better.
It does. With damage wise, I'm just going to read the damage for this. So I finished on 47. Mark finished on 51 on Shackles. Now, these are with the X-Haven damage things, like overkill. We haven't been counting overkill for a very, very long time. So these numbers are pretty good. Gaz, 62. Phil, 132.
Just keep going. So that's funny, because I reckon when we got to really high numbers on the Blink Blade last time, we were counting overkill.
Yes.
So yeah, it'd be fascinating to know how, because that's really high for not overkill. Like what did my shards get to in that big one? It was like 160 odd or something like that.
It was something dumb, yeah.
Yeah, and that was non-overkill as well. So, but that was an exception. That was like two people playing support, like 2 support 1. So yeah, that's big there. Big damage. Big damage from Phil there. So made a massive difference.
Yeah, the healing numbers look a little lower than I think they should be, so that's okay. I won't read those out. I'll just have those on the screen. Moving along. What have you got for us?
Oh, so
I'm slightly terrified.
Pardon?
I'm slightly terrified.
You're slightly terrified. You don't have to be terrified. You don't really have to do anything.
Oh, amazing.
So other than just sit there and yeah, exactly, just kick back. So. You might have seen it, might not have seen it, but there was a comment by Iron and Wine in the Discord recently about your thumbnails. Don't know if you saw it or not. And you know what? I've mentioned it a couple of times that I think that the thumbnails you do and have been doing for quite a long time, you put a lot of work into, okay? And well, I think you do. I know you do. I know you think about it. And the episode titles as well also was a thing that, I know you used to put a lot of thought into it and talk about, and it's probably become a bit more natural. So over the time, so you probably don't have to put as much effort into it. But we're 80 odd episodes in, at least 60 of those have thumbnails, and all of them have names. And so I asked a few key people within the community to rank the thumbnails and or the kind of the titles of the episodes. So
oh god,
this is going to be tricky to do because I can't put them up on screen.
I will.
For you. I know you can put them up for the episode, and I really apologize for all of our like audio listeners who I'm going to be talking about this stuff and they're going to go, I have no idea what you're talking about. So this is kind of like a video only episode. So if you are an audio only listener and you haven't watched YouTube, it could be worth jumping on just to have a look at this part so that Detty can throw them up there. But I just wanted to give you a bit of kudos and get some kudos from the community about how awesome your thumbnails are. And I've asked a bunch of people to give us their top 3. So it's less of a tier list and it's more of just like the ones that we really liked. I'll go through mine really quickly. Okay. Yeah. And then I'll throw to a couple of people who we got their details of. So in no particular order, episode, what episode's that? 80. So we know what you did last summers. Like it gets credit for the good name. But also one of the things across all of these that I really jumped out at me was when I was able to look at the thumbnail and know exactly what scenario it was. Because most people know, I'm really bad at remembering or connecting the scenario and the number. All the time in the Discord, people are like, oh, we just did like, number 49. I'm like, I have no idea what that is. Right?
Yes.
And then even when people describe it, I usually don't know. But then when they tell me the stupid meme that happened during it, I'm like, oh, yeah, I know that one. Right. And one of the things in episode 80 that was so good was the lick rock. Right. There was this rock that we had to keep running back to lick. And I love that the thumbnails usually, it's such an in-joke, or you probably know it if we talked about it on the episode. But yeah, I thought that was a really good one. Cool. Another one that I really liked was it's actually episode 29 extras, back when we were doing like extras, or you were doing the extra clips.
Oh yeah.
And it's the Game of Thrones ones. It's the 4 of us standing there, and I think I mostly just like it from Phil's face, like he's chained up. But he just looks so happy about it. It's so funny.
That was the one where Mark completely fucked his battle call. and then celebrated.
Oh, that's okay. That's why Mark's laughing there. Yes,
Yes.
yeah, okay, 100%. Yeah, yeah, and that was such a good one as well. Like, like, yeah, I did. I went out of my way to wreck your battle goal, and then I'm gonna laugh about it and mic drop and walk off.
Yep.
And the last one is, and I can't see what episode this is because I took a little screenshot. But it's the heist one.
Oh yeah.
Episode
The Ocean's 11 looking one.
the one where we're busted into the bank with the bandanas on our face.
Oh, that one. Oh, the first lot. Yeah, got you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just because I think it just looks funny. Like it's it's got us in there. You've got like the characters. You've got little face masks and stuff like that. So I thought it was a really good effort. So just so a few that jumped out when I was kind of scrolling through and having a look. Now to get to jump in it, by the way, if you want to talk about any of this at any moment, but let's get to the community because I asked a few people, so I want to get through theirs. Stu, first of all. So honorable mention is the Coral solo scenario. And I asked him for a little bit of a comment on each one. So just to think. So he said the Coral solo looks hilarious with your head on a guy wearing a crab suit. So I think when he says your, I think he means me.
Yeah.
Because that was the one that I did. So that was the crab one.
Yeah.
That was the honorable mention. Then you got 36. He's like, has you and Detty looking so happy that Mark captured you with his net, which also looks very silly. So I didn't actually look these up as and take screenshots of them. So let's have a look at what's that.
I think it might have been when Mark first got his PQ as the Pokemon hunter or Pokemon trainer, and he first got that net to start building towards that PQ. Might have been that.
Where's 36? Oh yeah, there. Yeah, very good. 62 is instantly recognizable, which is the point I was making for a lot of these. Looking through them, like I know exactly which scenario this was. You four holding onto a fridge, looking amused, bemused, and confused. So nice little rhyming there as well from Stu. So yes, I agree. That was also one of the ones that I looked at and loved.
Thanks, Stu.
So, and the last one that he had was 65. Is you all trying to sneak and dodge around the lasers, which is also instantly recognizable and was such a memorable scenario in both yours and each of my campaigns. I think he said in 65, it's Mark's face that really gets me. He just looks like we got this, bros, while Detty is screaming in pain.
Yeah, so, very memorable. I think it was the laser, the furious factories. Lasers going off, very, very memorable. Love that scenario.
So that was Stu. We got Dan Gaget. So that's Dan GG for those that don't realize that we mispronounced his name on purpose. We got episode 27. Okay, so that's going way back. Way back. Detty had done a couple of thumbnails before this, but it was really the first one where he got creative with it. The bird on his head always makes me laugh. Yeah. So this is one that I also looked at. So
I can't even find this one in my folder.
27, it's one of the very first. I actually looked at it as well because it is. I remember it being the first one and looking at like this was along the long line of jokes about birds.
Yeah. Okay, I'm trying to find it, but carry on.
So that was good. That one is good. Episode 41. Okay, just look at his face. Okay, so I need to look this up because it doesn't. Which one's 41?
It's the ice cave.
Mirror?
Yeah, it was the ice cave one.
Just for people to get a little bit of behind the scenes, if anyone looks that one up, did you have to take that picture like that, or did you put that through some form of like?
I used the Snapchat filter for that one.
Okay, all right, cool. So you didn't just go to the mirror and just take a photo?
No.
Okay, and then
So
episode
rude.
84. It's always neat when you can get the whole crew on the thumbnail. This one in particular, the faces are such a perfect amount of drunken lookiness that perfectly fits the scenario. That was the one recently did, right? The tavern one. I also had that on my short list when I was going through for ones because I agree. I think when you can get everyone in there in a scene and you can pick something that works really well, I think it does work well. So that was from Dan.
Just quickly, I can update a lot of these moving forward. The problem is the boys are shy and they don't want me to take photos photos of them necessarily, right? So therefore, I have to keep reusing the same headshots. And I've gone through my whole history of friendship with them and found some older photos of them, but it's still not enough. So I need a photo shoot day where I'm like, everyone pose. I want a happy one, I want a sad one, I want a frustrated one, just so I have a bit more to go to work with.
Yeah, all right, I'm happy with that. I'm fine.
Nice.
All right.
Thank you,
So
Dan Guga.
from long-time listener has disappeared for a while. Our old mate Weedy.
Hey, I miss
Yeah,
you, Weedy.
so-
Where have you been?
Yeah, so he has still been listening. He's just he mentioned he's having a bit of a break from Frosthaven while they wait for 2.0 because they kind of smashed out their campaign. He's just doing some other stuff. So but he still is following along and listening and chuckling. But he jumped in. So and again, there's no particular order. 72, the Titan one. The thumbnail perfectly illustrates the scenario. Also, imagine how fun Mario would be if you were controlling little Gazes and Dettys. So. Verse 72.
That was fun. It was the Ice Climbers.
Oh, okay.
Mixed in with Mario.
Yep, there we go. So if anyone wants to make a mod and just change Mario to Detty and Gaz to Luigi, you can do that. Episode 30. This is where the thumbnails got good and a little chaotic. Good shit, Detty. Okay, which one's 30?
Crane Game.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I had this on my list as well of potentials. So yep. No, that is yeah. Another good one. And then episode 67 perfectly encapsulates Phil's approach to Haven Games. Screw the party. Phil wants loot.
Yeah.
What was the?
I think that might have been Prison Break.
Oh, okay. Yep. So that was another good one.
Yeah, that was definitely Prison Break. Yep.
Yeah, cool.
Thanks, sweetie.
Yeah, no, that was good. And now the person that came up with the idea in the first place, Iron and Wine, episode 80. So he also had, I know we did last summer's. So, yep, he said a thematic picture and a witty pun. So yes, because I think the names of the episodes are also something that don't get enough kudos.
I would almost say that, especially with a lot of the earlier episodes with the namings, I don't know how many people are going to get them, but every episode title obviously has some kind of a meaning, and my brain sometimes has a lot of layers to it, so I don't know how many of them are going to be gettable. Maybe I'll talk about them one day.
I remember early on as well that all of yours, you tried to make Frosthaven related as well, like frost and ice and stuff. So it's like somehow finding the Venn diagram of like Frosthaven relating to what happened in the episode and scenario, and also being a pun of some sort.
Yeah,
I'm like, wow, such a small space you're working in.
It's really hard.
Number 2, episode 32, botched robbery. So that's the one that I was talking about earlier. Yeah, so the one that's with you and me breaking in against the eels and the other guys. So he said one of the earliest thumbnails when Detty was tried doing something a bit different. And then the third one, he's got catching rays. Can tell the scenario shtick from the picture, and I haven't even done the scenario with my group. Which one's that? It's 65.
Oh, 65. Oh, that's the laser again.
Lasers. Again. Yeah, cool. So yeah, he's obviously heard of that one, and but he knows what's going on. So
Whiny, you have to do that scenario.
I know. Yeah. So I know. Yeah, that's one of like it's probably one of the most memorable ones. I wouldn't say one of the best ones, but definitely it had like some of the moments that were just like like the laser shooting all the way down through the doors. So yeah, very good. And lucky last, we had Dwarf. He had 76 to start with, and for that one, he just said "lol."
Yeah. So that's the one where you're crying with the axe nuts.
Yeah. So for those which actually has nothing to do with the scenario that we did, but it happened to do with like one of the things that happened on the way back. Number 60. Which one's that?
That's the fist, big fist, not AI at all. I totally drew that. And then
what's that on the side, like crossing out?
That is a meteor, a prism, and a drill.
Okay.
With X's going through them because it was one where Mark finished off the scenario when it looked real grim.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, he did that a couple of times on the fist in a row. So, and then 83 for the title.
Which one's that? It would have been one we did very, very recently.
Honol.
Oh,
Honol?
Honal. Yeah.
Honol? Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yep. Because like Hodor, but I draw nulls all the time. I get it.
Correct.
Yeah. So it's actually really like looking on the YouTube, where the podcast episode and number is, it overlaps where the duration is quite a lot. So looking at that little thumbnail, it's
Oh,
annoying
got
to see
you.
the number. But yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's just a little bit of a trip, like revisit, a bit of kudos to you for all that extra hard work, all the hard work that goes into making them and the time spent to do it, from myself and a few members of the community. And I will throw it out to everyone else listening. If you have a particular favorite, right, chuck it in the Discord once this goes live and let Detty know which is your favorite one and why. And yeah, just give him some love.
Thank you. That is very, very sweet. It's really, really nice. And yeah, no, thank you.
That's right.
I don't know what to say with
You don't have to.
with
Yeah, you don't have to.
okay.
Yeah, we can jump into the shits and hits if you want.
Yeah, let's
Hits
jump
and
into
shits?
shits. Hits and shits. Potion edition.
Potion edition. All right.
Potion
cool.
edition.
So,
Any honorables? I have no honorables.
spoilers, all the potions are amazing and there's no list.
It is very difficult.
Yep.
Very,
Honorable
very
mention. Look, for me, I will say from a hit list perspective, the power pot, the healing pot, and the stam pot, okay, are all usable on every single character all the time and will usually find some form of like situation that you can use them. It's one of the things that makes potions so good. And
Yeah.
I almost feel like when I was going through this, I have thought this before, and I kind of had this thought when I was going through it the other earlier to put the list together. I feel like there almost needs to be a separate potion slot, like as in you have. I know. Hear me out on this one.
Gaz
Right?
and his utility belt with things coming everywhere.
Hear me out. Right. So in the bag items, roughly half of them are potions and half of them aren't. And we went through last week and talked about how there's so many really cool bag items. And a lot of the reason why we don't take them, like AKA the Ring of Night, which is in the bin, right? It's and had many discussions with people in the Discord about it. But the reason is because it's in such a competitive slot with things like these potions. Where going through these potions, they're mostly all good or all very useful. And especially when you have ones that are tied to certain classes, they become almost must-haves. So I almost feel like there should be like you have your bag slots and then you have 2 potion slots or something like that. So everybody can take 1 or 2 potions and that doesn't scale up and you pick which ones you want. So everyone's going to have that. I know they kind of balance it a bit by not having 4 of everything because you've only got 2 of each potion, so you can't all just take that. But I don't know, it just seems a bit wonky because I'd love to see more of the not bag, so the not potion items taken. But I'm not a designer; it's probably a shit idea for a whole bunch of reasons. So I'm willing to accept that.
Yeah, I mean, we could go into that as its own kind of discussion, but I won't. Not this time.
No,
You almost had me because I was gonna totally go into that with you.
But no, honorable mentions other than the fact that those 3 potions are amazing. No,
Fair enough. Okay, sounds good. I'm gonna start.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go with item 103. This is the major cure potion, and there's also a cure potion. We brewed this. Well, when you bring potions, a lot of the time you're discovering them. So when we were saying what will Arrow Refine, Corpse Cap, and Flame Fruit, when we combine those 3, what happens? We've got a major cure potion. And I remember reading it when we made it, and I was like, oh, okay, that's, yeah, I can see it. And you were like, just take it, dude. Just take it with you anyway. This ended up becoming really, really, really clutch on my Astral. It was on my Astral, and there were so many times where, I don't know, if I had to disarm myself with the throwing sword kind of thing or whatever, I could remove the conditions from me. I actually found this really useful without intentionally working around it. It was just kind of like, damn, I've been hit with all of these conditions. Oh, wait, I've got a thing that deals with this. And it just felt really good. It wasn't a situation where I'm reading it now going, damn, this would have been really good on like every character for that reason. So it was easy for me to go down the line of, power pots and stamp pots and their importance and even element pots. But something a little bit more left field with this, it was a meh, guess I'll carry it later potion. Oh, wow, this is actually quite clutch and has actually helped me a fair bit. And you can even use it when you're impaired or stunned. So I was really happy with this.
I 100% agree because I also had that on my hit list.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like for most of the same reasons. Like low key, it's like such a good solution to so many problems. Right?
Yeah.
Like it's the potion it's like kind of the potion you never want to take but you need, right? And you don't need it until you really need it and then you're like, "Oh, not that stun comes up very often, but there's a pesky immobilize or pesky disarm, even a muddle like at
If
critical
you're muddle
times."
and poisons, like it's a perfect time to get rid of it. If you can
Yeah.
remove your poison so that you can get a heal ready and not have to use a heal for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, having the utility of that's another good point. Like getting rid of poison so you can drop a big heal on yourself. Because sometimes you have the characters that have like a heal 3, 4, 5, and you don't want to use it on a poison, but you don't have any other way of getting that one heal. And while you wouldn't want to only use a major cure potion to get rid of one poison, that's the only reason because there's other ways of doing it. Having the potion and then being in that situation, being like, oh, I can actually do it like this is going to be clutch. It's I think really good. So no, I agree. I had that one on my list.
Nice.
So I guess that's my first one.
Oh, all right. Do you want me to try
Do you want me
again?
to go again?
Oh, yeah, you can go second.
Sure. All right. The fire shield potion. So 88 and is it 105?
Probably.
105. Yeah. So there's obviously for this one there's a minor and a major. So what's the minor one? 88. During your turn, perform retaliate 1 at range 3, and then the major one is retaliate 2 at range 3. I had a lot of fun with using these to good effect on my crab. Right when I wanted everyone to hit me, having a lot of shield. Also, I know Mark's got one of these that he uses on his thing. So this is weird because it falls into one of those categories of being really niche, only good on certain characters. But I think the reason I put it on my hit, it's a fun one to make work. And I think when you can make it work, it can have a really big impact. It's probably not going to be very useful on a lot of characters. Which is kind of what makes it a weird one to put on my hit list.
Yeah.
But again, when I'm going a little bit, like I said, left field as not picking the main key potions that are always taken by everyone, this kind of jumped up to me being like, yeah, this is pretty cool.
Yeah. In isolation, it's pretty crap. It's okay. It's okay. Sorry. Because there are characters that want it, but I mean, your Snowflake's not going to be running around with one of these and popping it and going, hey, that's okay, guys. I got 2 red, right? Yeah. But in combination with some of those other things, it can be really fun. I find that when there are other potions on here that just do damage to something, right? Or allow you to attack, freely like that. But I think this one here requires a little bit more planning. But if you get it off, it's a lot more rewarding, especially when you're combining it with all of your other red cards and you're getting one of those juicy red turns off. It's very satisfying.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I think, you're right. Having ret 1, having ret 2 is not very exciting. But when you can kind of stack that up a little bit more and trying to get damage through something that has a lot of shields, right? Something comes and hits you in melee and you can pop a couple of abilities and push through 4 or 5 damage on something with shields. It can make all the difference. So, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, nice. My second one is item 110, Precision Potion. And there is a shitty version of this, I can't remember what it is. But when you reveal a null attack modifier card from your attack modifier deck, treat it as a +2 instead. Do you have this?
I don't have this.
Okay.
Because Snow Thistle is basically impossible to find anywhere.
That's very true. But if you do find it, this is where it's going. So, beginning of the campaign, when we started playing, I would have seen the crappier one. I think you ran away with it on either your Geminate or your Coral. I can't remember.
Prism. I had it on Prism.
Oh, you had it on Prism. Cool. I was very close. And it's very obvious how to use this, okay? But it just may never be used in a scenario because you may never miss, right? So it's a bit of a waste. And this is my early thoughts going into the Frosthaven, like, oh yeah, this is okay. It's kind of cool. Now, this is best in slot for you and me because on average, I'd say we're pulling our nails maybe between 1 to 3 times a scenario. And it's you and I, right? I may do 1, you do 3. And the odd times you do 5, right? Removing one of those nulls for a +2 is very sick. Like it's incredibly worth because of the tempo, the amount of damage you would have done in that turn. I mean, imagine the amount. You've said it in the scenarios that we played. The amount of times, if only I had landed that hit, it's had this cascading chain effect.
It's a good point. I hadn't actually read the precision one. I didn't realize that turned it into a +2 because I had the original one, which is just +0, so you just don't miss. I didn't realize that the precision makes you do +2. And if you had a card that said, once per scenario, put a +2 modifier into your AMD and you are guaranteed to draw it,
Yeah.
I would take that. I would take that perk or that potion or whatever that thing is. So yeah, it's a really good point. I did look at crafting one of these when I made my my drill and was missing. But then yeah, like I said, I didn't have the snow thistle, and there's everything else needs snow thistle as well. So I was like, well, let's low down the kind of priority list.
But yeah, and I love that you can choose to use this if you want it, right? So if you're hitting something on full health and you hit it for an attack 1 and you blow it, you're not going to do it. But you blow all your cooldowns to get that really, really important target. Your job is to down a Chaos Demon who's on, 5 health or whatever. Like, this is perfect. This is great to guarantee you're going to kill it.
And one thing I love about like items like this that have these kind of weird effects, in a sense, is that there can be these super niche moments where drawing a certain card is very like advantageous. So I'm just imagining a situation where you're drawing to attack something and you need to get a +2, but you don't have a +2 in your deck, or you've only got one and you've already drawn it. You're like, ooh, if I draw my miss, right, that's going to turn into a +2.
Which some people are very good at doing.
Some people we know are very good at drawing that null. Cool. No, very good. I like it. The last one I had, because I also had the Killer Potion, is the Holy Water and Holy Rain. Now, I know from discussion, so that's number 91 and 108. So it's the Holy Water is during your turn perform Bless itself. And the Holy Rain is during your turn perform Bless, targeting 2 adjacent allies and self. Okay. Yep. Now, jokingly, I think this came up in conversation about whether last week we're talking about the Ring of Night and whether putting, I think it was the Dead Raven, like putting 1 curse in the enemy's deck, is that worth 1 bag slot? And I was like, no. And then the person also mentioned Holy Water also probably not being worth it then, right? Because it's only 1 Bless. And I kind of agree with that, although the Holy Rain one is a different kettle of fish, because you're getting 3. And if you can line this up with a character that has summons, aka Prism, you can just give yourself 3 blesses. So when it says target 2 allies and self, it really just says target self 3 times.
Yeah.
But no, I think it's a cool one. I think blesses don't get utilized enough in our group. We don't always do the shopping at the temple thing, and items to improve our AMD probably is where that gets a lot more powerful.
Yeah, the blessed numbers I don't really think about too much because you're only given 10 cards. So if everyone prayed at the beginning, provided you're playing a 4-player campaign, that's 8 of them gone. You've only got 2 left, right? It's kind of like you could stagger it because you wait for some of those blesses to come out, which we do, before you start throwing them back in again. But yeah, you're right. We don't really utilize bless anywhere near as much. I had that item on the Astral that we looted. It was like a tome or something of, lose a morale and bless all your allies kind of thing. And I was coordinating with your Prism to get as many bots out as you could so that we could fill your deck up with it. But yeah, I think you're right. We need to utilize a bit more bless, I think, moving forward. And this is a good item for that.
Yep. So I'll just wait for everyone to tell me why I'm wrong.
You're wrong, guys.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, everyone.
My last good item on the hits list that I think is a wonderful hit is item 113. This is Expertise Potion. At the start of your turn, discard one of your played cards to perform both the top and bottom actions of your other played card. At most, one action can trigger a lost icon. This potion, endless possibilities over the 17 classes. I think you could just use this in just a crazy amount of ways. And there are some jewelry that we recently unlocked due to the jewelry shop or whatever that sort of do this, that allow you to play cards out of sync and use the bottom of, things like that. But having that ability accessible to everyone via the potion, what I love most is that it breaks the rules. And I like that you can break the rules in a very clever way. And this fundamentally does that, because the Haven series is all about pick one top, one bottom from the 2 cards you've selected, and this just flat out throws that out the window.
Yeah.
But not in a feeling busted way. But I haven't played with it, so I don't know, but I kind of really, really want to.
Yeah, I think the thing that sticks out about this potion and this mechanic, because I agree, when you can break a rule in this way, it's very interesting, is that there seem to be well-designed cards that have, not in every card, but every class seems to have one or two of these, where the top and the bottom both do things that you want to do at the same time, on the same turn. Like they both have, and that's this potion is where, yeah, you look at that and go like, oh, okay. Actually, you know what? I can do the top and bottom on this card. And I think that in some instances that would be not broken because it's a once off, but it's definitely very powerful. Like you can get a lot of value out of it. So,
yeah.
All
so,
right.
shits.
List?
Yeah, but I have a couple of things I want to say. All right?
Okay.
Couple of things I want to say. So, in order to make a hits and shits list, which is what we've been doing, something has to be a hit, something has to be shit. So, unfortunately, yes, there are going to be some things in weird spots, and that's why it's all up for discussion. And that's why I love the discussions that we've been having, especially in our Discord amongst our community. Potions, arguably, are probably the hardest category, at least for me, to do this on, especially with the shits, because, like you said at the start, there's a lot of they're all really potentially good and useful. So there is a case for every single item in the game to be a hit for someone in the world,
Except for the hook.
except for the hook. We're loving the discussions following our episodes in our Discord about the choices, so keep them coming. And finally, those who have explained to us why some of our shit items shouldn't be considered shit have yet to provide examples of what they would deem as shit list items. So,
Yeah, good point.
Oh, very easy to talk about why it's not, but give us some examples, right?
Yeah. Good point. And I also would love to encourage the discussion. So anytime that I'm engaging with that conversation, I hope people don't try to think that I'm either defending and or saying that they're wrong, because I think that we are coming up with this just based on what we feel. And I love the fact that some people are seeing things in a more mathematical way, which is good, because sometimes I don't like. I think I made the comment. I made the comment before that got a bit of a funny reaction. I think from Dwarf was like, "Yeah, you know what? I haven't actually considered the crafting cost or the buying cost of any of these items are put on any of these lists." And they're like, "What do you mean?" So yeah, I've just been like, read the text. So yeah, like there's a lot of things we're not considering, and also there's a lot of classes we haven't played a lot in each, or a lot of classes we haven't played in certain combinations. So I'm sure there are items out there that are working and doing work for people. So yeah, please let us know, because that's how we learn, right?
Well, they are letting us know.
They are, yes, but keep letting us know. I don't want you to be afraid of letting us know. The thing I would say though is that if there is one item that you think we have on our shit list that you would not have put there, I would love to hear you put forward what you would put instead. So I'm not asking everyone to come up with 3, right? That's not, you can if you want, but that's not what I'm saying. But if you want to say no, that shouldn't be on your shit list, I want you to pick an item that we didn't pick, or that would replace it, because that would be interesting for conversation, because it would be good to know what you think is shit. So,
and then you can tear each other apart, and that'll be fun to watch.
Then we can just pull out the popcorn and watch. Yeah, that's it.
So with that comes my first shit item: Dead Raven on a fish hook in an extender bottle potion.
That's like S class, S tier.
S tier.
Right?
That's gotcha. But no, you can go first if you want.
Oh, you can go.
All right, cool. Potion, item 101. This is the Major Power Potion. So this is an item that's best in slot for 90% of character kits, and there's no arguing how good the Power Potion and Major Power Potion are. I'm not going to argue it. During your turn, add +2 to all your attacks, or +1 if you've got the Minor Power Potion.
Or +3 if you've got both.
Oh, or +3 if you've got both. I didn't even consider that. They're busted. All right, they're absolutely busted. Dwarf, I think, has mentioned it once in the past. I think I will have to go find where and quote him, or maybe it was a joke and he actually doesn't think they're busted at all or broken at all. But people do find these fun, and I don't want to take that away from people. It's important to find your fun. But when these are involved in rounds where one character can solo a bunch of enemies without breaking a sweat, I think it's a problem. I think that when I read situations where they're like, oh yeah, the Blink Blade soloed 3 rooms while the rest of us were just running around picking up loot. Like, yeah, power potions, I think, are a problem for the game. And ultimately, it is boring. It's just increasing numbers. All right. It's predictable. There's no hoop. There is zero skill requirement for using it. You just chug and smash. And it's a little unnecessary. I'm glad it's in the game. All right. And I know people love this item and it feels good to use it. I've used it. All right. I just don't think it's good for the game.
Yeah, and I think it's funny because Dwarf will listens to these and comments, and so he's probably already typed a comment to what you've just said, and now
He's
I'm
saying,
going to
fuck yeah,
kind of
daddy. Fuck
respond.
yes.
Yeah, I'm going to respond to what he's probably typed out. But that's why his suggestion and or errata or the general consensus is that they should be not to all attacks, but should be ability, so that it's just working on like one half of one of the cards. But in saying that, math aside, I 100% agree with you. They are boring, right, from a mechanical perspective. And one of the things I actually liked about Gloomhaven and then into Frosthaven is the amount. It's like item slots were not about numbers usually. They were about things like ability or I don't know, like had conditions or I don't know. They enabled you to do different things with your abilities and or different things on your turn. And that's what I really liked about it because it wasn't your traditional RPG of get items, get more stats, right? Get a sword, get a better attack. And that's what made the loot part of Gloomhaven Frosthaven not feel like a loot hoarding game. Right? Like you wanted these items because they do cool things, but most of them don't just make numbers go up.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's one of the cool things. And you're right. So from a like interesting to use perspective, 100%. This just says +1. And that's boring, right? That is really boring.
Pretty much.
Unfortunately, it's also really good.
Yep.
So
it's just one of those annoying things. It's like when the thing is, it's very hard to patch things in a board game and all of that unless you're releasing a second edition and you're ripping them out, right? And groups are gonna play with this, regardless. I'm not gonna sit here and tell everyone at the table don't buy it or don't use it, right? I will never do that. I just think it's a shit item. It's a good shit item.
It's funny, right? Because I think if people are using this just to do something not broken, it's actually fine. Like if it's just like you're doing it to do one extra +2 on one big attack, that actually seems okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
Like
Still boring,
as in
but
seems
go for
okay
it.
from a like it doesn't seem broken. Still seems boring, but yeah, exactly. You flip it upside down and suddenly you do more damage. Cool. All right, we'll come at us because a lot of people are going to have problems with that. So
I don't
I'm
know
going to
if they
go.
will.
Pardon?
I don't know if they will, but carry on.
Oh, they'll probably agree with you, but then there'll be some weird questions as to why it's on a shit list. But the reason is because it's boring. All right. My first one is the Flame Vial, which is item number 96.
96.
During your
and they have
turn
a major version of that as well.
Yeah, which I'll talk about separately in this split. So during your turn, perform wound range 1.
Guaranteed 1 damage, guys.
Yeah, take 1 damage each turn. I mean, like, it just seems so, like, I don't know. The amount of times that you need a clutch wound on something for that to be the difference and worth an entire bag slot, this just goes in the same category as, putting a curse on something or just doing one status effect that's not major or game changing. Like, yes, on a boss or something with high shields, like we talked about flame demons, sure, it could be good because in 4 turns they're going to die. But still, I could maybe see the Inferno Flask, which is, what's that item number? I didn't write that down. 117. Which does the same thing wound, but it's in a little triangle. So that I can maybe see that worthwhile if you can hit 2 to 3 targets. Getting wound on 2 to 3 things, probably 1, 3, is probably worth an item. I mean, that's probably definitely worth an item. It's still, like, how often do you want to put a wound on 3 things where the wound's going to tick enough till you warrant taking an item where you could probably take something far more interesting?
Well, it's also range 1, so you're going to need to be next to them anyway to even land that, right?
Yeah, okay, yeah.
The triangle formation is already quite difficult to have. Oh, if it wasn't clear, this is my second worst item, the Inferno Flask, for the same reasons that you've specified. I actually think on paper it's good. Like it's 3 pure damage, right? One item is going to do potentially if you can line it up, right? At most, I reckon you're probably going to land 2, and if you're not, then you're not using it in the scenario, right? But yeah, I actually think it's fine. It's again, slightly on the boring side, but also I just think it's that whole there needs to be something on the shit side of things, and I think this is definitely shittier than a lot of the other options. The plethora of other options.
This was my easiest shit item. Like, I
Oh,
think
there you
this
go.
is garbage.
Perfect.
Like, I totally don't see it. I think this is probably, with excluding things like the hammer potion and the deadly mixture, right? Or the poison potion things, right? That clearly only work on like one character. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, like I think this is by far the
Yeah.
worst item that anybody can take. So,
No, I
from
agree with you. Even find the name misleading. Inferno Flask. More like
take that
paper
name.
cut elixir. Like, that's literally what it is. You walk around and just, hey, open your fingers.
I knew that the flame vial was range 1, but I didn't. When I read the Inferno, I was like, oh yeah, okay, you might be able to make that work. That could be less shit. But I didn't realize that was also range 1. Like that totally needs to be like range 3.
For an
Like,
Inferno Flask, yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Or something more interesting, like there is a banner spear card that gives you this like fire like torch flame like minion, where it's like if it attacks and does damage, they get wound. The idea is supposed to be I like the idea of that. I like the Inferno Flask of like, doing it, making it like range 3 and saying it does like, do an attack 2, and if the target takes any damage, then they get wound. Something like that. Like that could be pretty cool.
Yeah, that can be really cool. My
Oh,
microphone
did you just break
stand just
something?
snapped. Scared the shit
Cool.
out of
So
me.
that was me, Flame Vial, and you also Flame Vial, but you may as well go again.
Yeah, let's go again. One's 112 hammer potion. So I think this item's awesome. All right, because of its secret use.
Yeah.
But it clearly looks bad. 10 damage to yourself. Like, I tried so hard to find more uses for this item that weren't for a particular character.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't actually find anything. So it's weird because I'm a little bit torn with how niche it is for that particular character and how impactful it can be. But
Yep.
to anyone who doesn't play that character, it is beyond bin. There is no redeeming thing from this. Not even a slight, maybe at least like, and I'm happy to be told I'm wrong in this kind of thing. But it's the best. What the actual fuck is this for? This is useless item in the game. Yeah, in the game. And I love the fact that it's there, especially when we first discovered it, because we discovered this before that character, and it was just kind of like, this has got to mean something at some stage. Because right now it's literally got a couple of words: during your turn, suffer 10 damage. Okay, I must need to read it again. There's something I'm missing. So yeah, I like it. I really like it. It's just a shit item. You're allowed to like shit things. People like us.
Yeah, no, 100% agree. And it has a weird space. Any item that has a single use, one class kind of like in that space, but then becomes must have on them in some way is a weirdly designed item. Now, I don't know if this is a must have. I know some of the other ones are, depending on how you play that class. And we've talked about some other items that are only really useful for one class. But I think it's okay if they're like, oh, this is an option on that class if you would like. Not, oh yeah, well, this is like best in slot for that character and only that character, and no one else would ever want it because it doesn't do anything. That's a weird spot. So yeah. Cool. I had 114. The Foresight potion.
Oh, interesting.
So this is during your turn, reveal the top card of one monster ability deck. You may place the card on the bottom of the deck. I actually really love this ability. And I played the shards, which kind of does this in a way. And there's an item that does it as well, which I think is really cool that would be cool to play around with. Just not on a potion. I get why this would be useful. And if I had it and I didn't have to replace it for any reason, like if I just brewed it, I was like, oh, okay, I would carry it and I'd probably use it every scenario. So it's not without its uses. I think you can see it being really clutch. I just don't like it in a bag slot as a single use for a single monster. But that's...
Do you think, why? Because it's too strong or just because it doesn't suit it?
No, I just think it's too competitive. For what you're trying to do with the bag slot, I don't think this works well. And like I said, just got to be something that goes on a shit list. I like the idea of an ability like this potentially being able to be reused or seeing more. Like, I think there's an item that lets you see all the monster ability cards, or maybe, I know there's a helmet, I think. Anyway, I might be making stuff up. But yeah, I don't know. I like this ability. I just don't like it on this item for some reason.
Yeah, that's fair. I can't, like, I see your points, and I know that we've got to stick something here, and it's quite difficult. I like this, and I wouldn't put it on my favorites, or I wouldn't put it in, obviously, in my bottom. But I like the fact that it's a fairly unique ability that a character does a lot of that kind of stuff as well. Whether or not it's a potion or not, I think without it, we start entering that. I don't know if the potions start to get a little bit too boring. I mean, it's not going to make a difference if we remove one, but you know what I mean? It's keeping them relatively interesting apart from stat boosts. So, yeah.
And like I said before, the flame vial was really the only one I had on my shit list that I actually just think is garbage. Like, these are the ones that I think, like, if I have to pick three, this is probably one of the ones that I see nobody's going to want to take.
That's fair.
But like, overall, the potions are all good.
What you're saying is you wouldn't waste a snow thistle on this.
Oh, it's snow thistle, 100%. See, now I'm starting to consider what they take to craft. This is garbage for snow thistle. You can get, what, a power pot for that, right?
100%.
Major power pot. Oh, no, major power pot doesn't take snow thistle. That makes it even better. Like, it's the stam pot and the healing pot that both take snow thistle. That's why there's never any. Yeah. So, snow thistle OP. Nerf snow thistle.
No, nice. That's fun. I thought maybe if we have time next week, all right, and I'm just saying it right now, maybe this is going to be interesting because we haven't actually played a lot of the characters. Let's do the solo items.
Oh, okay. Yeah, cool. I did look at some of those as I was going through, and I didn't put any on.
No, neither did I.
Solo items. Yeah, we could rank them. Yeah, that's cool. I like
based on our limited knowledge of what the character does.
Yeah,
that'll be real fun. With that, we will wrap up episode 86.
Hey, I've got one more.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
We're going to wrap up. No, I'm joking. Go for it.
Yeah, that's it.
I thought you just did all. Oh, your first one was the. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
All right.
See,
lay it on us.
Yeah, that's it. All right. And this is going to be even more controversial.
Yeah, I bet. Stab?
No, I'm not that. I'm not silly. 86 and 102. The element and major element potion.
Ooh, yeah. Is it? Can I guess? Is it the boring factor? Or is that one of them?
Nah, yeah, a little bit. It is a little bit boring. Not as boring as just +2 to attacks. I think it's because to use this well, and again, I'm not saying this is shit. I can definitely see there are many uses for this, but it almost requires someone else to have it. Right? And I had this for a long time on 2 of my characters, I think, to help your astral.
Totally.
Right.
And it's a great item. It's a top 10 item on you.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I'd go really early and use the major element, make 2 things so that you could do an infusion turn 1. Like, it worked really well.
Yeah.
But like, outside of that kind of combo, like, you kind of carrying this for someone else. I know that there's a combo here where you take the major element and you take the Ring of Dark or Ring of Night, and then you use the major element so that you've got 2 up for next turn when you want to go invisible, and then whoa, it's OP and everyone wants it. That's shit, right? Like, the 2 items to do that at next turn. So I think it's the element next turn part that makes it, for me, lower on my list of things to do, because I'm only really taking this if someone else wants it. Because I think if you want it, you take the infusion potion.
Yeah, which I did. I had the infusion potion and you had the element potion. It was great.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like, that's the infusion potion that's just better than the single element generation for you. Like, if
for you, yes.
For you, I mean, because otherwise you got to plan ahead and make sure that nothing happens to it and blah blah. So
infusion's great for that because you don't actually make an element at all. So you just removing the cost of one, which I think is really cool for that reason.
Yeah. And there's some weird combos with the infusion potion, not that that's what we're talking about, where you can actually consume the same element twice in a turn. Because if fire's up and you have 2 cards that do fire, you can infuse to do fire and also
ignore the other one.
Yeah. So anyway, that's why I had element potion. The greater element potion, pretty cool because it's 2 elements, but I just think it's clunky to use. So that's why it's on my shit list. Come at me.
I think that's really fair. I wouldn't put it on my shit list. I think I like it when you have it.
Yeah, that's the problem.
I don't want it. It's shit if I have to carry it.
And
for someone else.
this is like the Dead Raven. Like, it's great if someone else has it, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's fine. I don't care if you waste your item slots on this item. So, like, in a hidden shit list for things you want to take, this is on my shit list. For my hidden shit list, the things that I want you to take, I think this is top tier for you
Top
to
tier.
pick.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that's where the weird balance is.
No, I love it. It's a nice, interesting list. We didn't overlap too much. I think you did well. I like the fact that we had quite a few different options. Because I thought we may overlap a lot more just due to it's hard to come up with more the shit stuff.
Yeah,
But maybe it's so hard that it was easy to be separate.
I feel like if we were hitting and shitting item slots, I feel like potions are one of the best item slots.
Mm.
Like, if you were looking at all of them collectively, like, it's hard to find potions that aren't good, or that if you had, you wouldn't be able to use regularly on every single scenario in some way.
Yeah.
So I think they are quite good.
Yep. Am I allowed to close this out?
Do
you have a
yeah, I
fourth?
don't think I've got anything else to say. Oh, I mean, I can keep going if you want.
Do we want to talk about Dead Raven? Are we going to have a whole segment on Dead Raven?
Yeah,
now?
let's do the Dead Raven segment. Yeah, no, I'll save that for a solo video.
And with that, we will wrap up episode 86. Thank you again for joining us. We will venture into scenario 64 next week, which will probably end up being the last scenario for Frosthaven, because scenario 65 is the beginning of one of the PQs, and we've already done that one, so it has to be this one, we think. But let's go out with a bang. Until then, I've been your host, Detty, and I've been joined again by Gaz.
And remember, actually, no, we're doing something different, because this is an important episode. All right?
Yeah.
Everybody, let's get an F for Ormy.
F in the chat for Ormy.
F in chat north for Ormy. Yep.